The alignment of sacred structures along the cardinal directions was not limited to early LDS temples. Sacred geometry, the design and construction of religious and civic structures according to heavenly geometric shapes and proportions, has been used from antiquity and continues into modern times. The design of the national capital, Washington for example, was formulated according to Masonic principles of sacred geometry, where the major buildings were situated along a cross and within a diamond, while being oriented to the cardinal directions, as this plan clearly demonstrates. The cornerstone for the U.S. Capitol building was laid on September 18, 1793 by President George Washington in a Masonic ritual, himself a Mason. As with LDS temples, Masons lay cornerstones in a set pattern according to the cardinal directions. In Masonry, it is the northeast corner that is laid first, in contrast to the priesthood order where the southeast stone is the first. As with LDS temples, Masonic buildings face east. The U.S. Capitol building, following Masonic principles, faces to the east. The National Mall, as it is now called, is aligned east-west like Salt Lake's Temple Square. At the westernmost point of the diamond is the Lincoln Memorial. At the easternmost point is the Capitol building. At the center of the crossbar of the cross is the Washington Monument, with the White House and Jefferson memorials forming the north and south wings of the cross, respectively. Eastward-facing temples have an ancient and widespread history. Almost from the beginning, the Egyptians oriented their pyramid complexes and temples along an east-west axis with the front towards the Nile on the east. The Midim Pyramid complex, built in the 4th dynasty of the Old Kingdom, was constructed along an east-west axis. Its mortuary temple was found to face east. The temples of Abu Simbel are aligned so that the rising sun lights upon the statues of the gods in the innermost room. The Greeks also regularly aligned their temples towards the east. The original entrance of the Temple of Hephaestus in Athens faced towards the east. The famous Parthenon was built along an east-west axis with the main entrance facing the east. In fact, the entire sacred complex, known as the Acropolis, was oriented east-west, including its temples and the 2 monumental entrances. Like their Greek counterparts, Roman temples faced east. The Roman Forum, a complex of sacred temples and monuments like unto the Greek Acropolis, the National Mall, or the Salt Lake Temple, followed the same principle. It extended primarily along an east-west axis. The road crossing the Forum, aptly named the Via Sacra, ran east-west and was the parade route for victorious generals. The design of Hindu temples follow geometric patterns like LDS temples and ordinances. They feature both the circle or compass and the square in repeating patterns. Hindu temples are also aligned east to the rising sun. The eastern sides of Hindu temples are dedicated to what is believed to be the sun god, Surya. But Surya was the most ancient of sun gods, the planet Saturn, which figures prominently in LDS temples. The Konark Temple, pictured here for example, follows the traditional pattern of facing the east. Christian cathedrals are often oriented along an east-west axis. Worshippers sit facing the east towards the sun, representing the risen Jesus Christ. Like the National Mall, they are constructed as crosses. The Vatican's St. Peter's Basilica and Square are aligned to the cardinal directions. The basilica faces east towards the square. The Neolithic monument, known as Stonehenge, is not oriented due east, as this schematic demonstrates. It points more northeast. However, it does follow the same general principle of orienting temples to the east, facing the sun at the summer and winter solstices. It is aligned so that the rising sun at the summer solstice casts its light along the avenue towards the heel stone at the center of the circle.